I'm ready.
All right, welcome back. Episode number 2 of ADV Talk. I'm Arlo.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Backer.
Let's get into it. So, few topics we're going to talk about today. The first one, this is interesting, and I would be interested for folks to comment on this exact topic, is there an ADV Mecca like Deals Gap is for sport bikes? So, who wants to go first? Do you think there is one, or should there be one?
It's a great question. I love Deals Gap on my sport bike, and it's such a great place where it's the one place on the East Coast where everybody gets together, and it's a motorcycle destination. I don't know that I have one location for adventure riding other than kind of Colorado in general being, there's just so much great adventure riding as well as just off-road riding in Colorado in general. And any chance I get, Colorado's where I go to ride. And you see tons of people every time you're out there adventure riding, tons of other adventure riders.
I would say the same thing. It's got to be Colorado just because of the roads and the mountain passes. And I'm sure there's other states that are great. For some reason, Colorado's the one that's taken off. I've heard like Idaho. I've never been. They say that's unbelievably good. But the other thing, I think Colorado may be because some of those places, you're just over the mountain from civilization. Mm-hmm. Whereas in some of the other places where guys are doing adventure rides, like you have no cell phone service, you haven't had cell phone service, you're not going to have cell phone service. You're just kind of literally in the middle of nowhere, which is pretty cool too. But I think Colorado's just it's convenient. It's centrally located in the U.S.
Yeah,
it's got civilization.
Yeah, you can get to it from both coasts, and it has unrivaled beauty. But is there somewhere in Colorado specific that is the place to be?
I got one that comes to mind: Black Bear Pass. So coming into Telluride, there is a pass. I think you go through Engineers Pass first, or is it Engineer?
Yeah, Engineer Pass.
Engineer Pass, and then you go into Black Bear Pass. I've seen it on YouTube a bunch of times. I've never personally run it, but I feel like that is a mecca. I was just on Moscow Moto's Instagram page this week, and they use Skydio drones that follow them. You can have like a beacon, basically, that you keep on them. So I'm assuming that's what they do. But Moscow Moto showed a couple of riders going down the stair steps. So it's like just what it sounds like, stair steps in the rock going down this pass. And it's pretty iconic. I know it's really great in the Jeep community. But I personally feel like that is a very recognizable thing. But Tail of the Dragon's pretty iconic. I don't know if it's at that level of being a mecca. So I don't know.
Yeah, I got you. Good point. Patrick, I assume you've not been to Black Bear Pass or Colorado.
I've been to Colorado, but a lot of the
adventure
stuff
riding?
No, not adventure riding.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of these places for work. And oftentimes I did see adventure bikes, like in Moab, Utah. There was a ton of adventure bikes, but I don't think there's any place that's like as legendary as the Tail of the Dragon. But I think the difference is the Tail of the Dragon is popular for exotic cars, for Fiats, for Camaros, for Lamborghinis, for Miatas, for Harleys. Like everybody, every kind of group that drives on the road, the Tail of the Dragon is the place to go, at least on the East Coast. And in the dirt, you have a very limited audience. So I think for something to become so legendary or iconic takes a bigger group of people.
It's true, but I mean, Arlo, I think you're onto something there. I think you got a good point. And I've done Black Bear Pass a handful of times.
Have you?
Yeah, and awesome. it is awesome. It is man, the first time you do it, it's butt puckering. You're going down this
shit. Well, you saying that, I'll never ride it because you're fearless in my eyes.
Well, 10 years ago, I might have been a little less fearless, but I did on my KLX for the first time. And you are going down this stepped rock face, and it is a very steep, long drop off on your left-hand side as you're going down. but you're overlooking Telluride, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's an incredible view from up there, overlooking the city. But you're right, and it, much like Deals Gap, it brings everything in. You'll see adventure riders up there. It is a road, so you don't really see dirt bikes up there too often, I don't think.
Dual sports,
but
though, yeah.
But you'll definitely see the Jeep crowd or the Bronco crowd now, and all the overland off-road guys. And they have like tours that go up there in like big Humvees or big convertible Jeeps and stuff. They'll take tours out of Telluride. Yeah, tours out of Telluride.
Down Black Bear Pass.
I assume they go down Black Bear. I'm not sure. I know they come up out of Telluride to like Imogene Pass.
Can you imagine the insurance policy needed for that? Like a tour through that?
Yeah, no kidding. No doubt. Yeah.
Crazy, but anyway.
Yeah.
I would say that, is it as iconic as the Tail of the Dragon? I don't think so, but is it like the one most singular name in adventure ridings as far as a path, obstacle, a place? It has to be.
Yeah, I can't think of anything more known. Yeah.
You know, the only thing I was thinking about, which is not necessarily a Mecca or a certain point, but the group that does the BDR routes, you know, they've done a really nice job. And we talked about the last episode is like what goes into planning a route. Mm-hmm. They've really commercialized it. I mean, I don't think they can charge a fee, but do they charge for maps on BDRs? Or
they'll sell you a map, but not for the GPS files. The GPS files are free.
They're free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how they make their money then. Interesting.
Maps and
they do
other sellables. Yeah.
But they do a really nice job, and I know that, and I believe you've done several of those BDR routes, but I know those can. The one that comes to mind is Colorado BDR route, but I don't know, maybe not.
What about the Trans-American?
Yeah, I was going to say, if we're not talking about a location, if we're talking about ideas, the Mecca idea, the BDR is one, and the TAT is the other, the Trans-America Trail. Yeah. So those are definitely the Mecca concepts or rides to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah, that's a good point. Which the TAT, that's for anyone who's not familiar with that. That's from. Where's it at the East Coast?
Does it start in North Carolina?
I believe so. Yeah.
So North Carolina to Oregon,
or South Carolina, I believe. One of the Carolinas.
Somewhere over there.
Uh-huh.
To Oregon. Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool route. I actually watched a father and son on YouTube, and I cannot think of the name right now. Father and son rode Honda CRF 450 RFL. Thank you.
Yeah.
RL now.
Something like that.
Whatever their naming convention is, the dual sport 450. And they took them like a month to do the TAT, but pretty cool to see that. And when they went down Black Bear Pass, they were flying. Like people were commenting on that video going, I've never seen anyone go down this that fast, but they were just like.
That's how I would want to do it. If I was going to do the TAT, it would be, let's not do it in 30 days. Let's just blaze this thing. I think that would be a blast.
Yeah, I think once you got to Black Bear Pass, though, you might take your time.
Becker speaks from experience.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, maybe we'll have to plan a trip. It'll be fun.
You can never get enough Black Bear Pass. I've been down it maybe 5 times, and I'll go again any day.
Yeah. Cool. And it's a waterfall too, right? I mean,
there's a really cool waterfall there. Yeah. Kaylin and I actually on our trip in the Forerunner last year tried to go up to it, but it was close due to snow. But we went halfway up, so yeah.
There's a pretty small window, right, where there's no snow.
Yeah,
it's like summertime riding.
It's different every year, right? But it's late June to late August, roughly, where you can get up there. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yep.
Cool. Well, moving along to our next question. And this one's relevant for right now because it started to get cold here in Indiana. Heated gear, yes or no?
Arlo, do you have heated gear?
I do not. I have heated grips on the Harley, and I do love them.
Does anybody at the table have heated gear?
I do not have heated gear, but I do have a plug for it on the Multistrada.
Yeah,
the Multistrada has a plug set up for it, but nowadays, like, there's so many battery operated things you can get like at any store in the world that I wouldn't have a problem. Like, if I was going to do a long ride, I would do it or get the heated gear. Like, I'm not going to be freezing. That's terrible. Like that time. So one time, me and Arlo were going to do a half marathon, and we rode the night before the half marathon in the freezing rain, like 3 hours to where we were going to do the half marathon, which was terrible. And then we got there and Arlo said, I think I'm just going to do the 5K.
I did.
And I ran the half marathon. And then when we were done, we spent the night and rode back the next day, I was tired.
Arlo, if you'd had heated gear, would you have done the full 10K?
The half marathon, you mean?
Oh, the half marathon, yeah.
No. I there was lack of training going on. Patrick is a little bit, it's a little more athletic than I am. So
Well, I had a lack of training too, but
yeah.
anyways.
True. Anyway.
It was a cold.
It was freezing.
It uses a lot of energy. It makes it more challenging.
I think, though, to me, if I was going with heated gear, the first thing I would say is heated grips, because I had not rode with them before, but it's amazing how if your hands are cold, you can deal with other parts of your body being colder for longer, I feel like. Now, if you had the heated jacket, pants, I think they even have socks that you can I don't even know what they have now.
Everything, yeah, I think, yeah.
I'm sure that then, you're going to Alaska or you're doing something really crazy. Yeah, you're going to be fine all day. But the heated grips, I'm amazed.
Difference.
I'm a big fan of them.
Yeah. So the Tiger has heated grips, but I actually, it's a weird sensation when my palms are hot and the outside of my hand is cold. And so a lot of times I just don't even use them. I don't even like them. I prefer to have a bigger hand guard that just keeps the wind off my hands. And then I'm usually pretty good until the rest of my gear can't keep up.
The nice thing with the multi-strata heated grips, and mine's an older one, but it has, I think, 3 different levels. So like the burning hot one, I can hardly stand it most of the time. So I run like the mild one or the medium.
Does yours have levels?
Yeah, 3 levels. Yeah.
Is it aftermarket or stock?
They're aftermarket, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I know they have them for the KTM. I'd like to get them on that bike just because I feel like
it's nice.
It does
it's
help.
It's a pretty nice feature.
There's probably some science that goes into it where it's like you get some
this is an
arteries.
it's like a radiator. You got a lot of volume or area of skin here, and it's an extremity, so it's
less blood flow, less heat
exactly.
getting to it.
You're losing a lot of heat there.
I wasn't prepared for it, but I know the first time I rode with it, I was like, all right, this really does work. No wonder these are popular.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yep. So outside of that, though, outside of my hands, I don't think I just bundle. I layer up. I put on multiple layers and a hoodie and the liner in my jacket and the jacket on, and I got some big gloves and boots and pants, and I'm pretty warm until my helmet doesn't keep me warm anymore. Right? It's usually after my hands, it's my face that gets cold. So yeah, no heated gear needed for me. I don't think.
I always use rain gear because it keeps people make fun of me, but it keeps the wind out. So like if it's cold, I pretty much just wear my riding gear and then I wear rain gear over the top of it, and just the keeping the wind out makes an unbelievably huge difference.
I watched Long Way Up, which is it's on Apple.
Charlie
you guys have
Borman
seen
and Ewan McGregor.
Mm-hmm.
And they had in the southern part of South America, they had those insulated, you see them on snowmobiles a lot, but you slide your hand into them.
Like hippo grips or something they call them or whatever.
Yeah,
they're hippo hands.
They use those for dirt bikes when it's muddy.
Really?
To keep your hands clean.
Mm-hmm.
I always be curious, what would riding with that be like?
Because
is there space inside of there?
You
can still.
When you're riding it, you don't really notice it.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, because
you're
it's
not
just like
your hand around all the time anyway. You're on the bars, right? Yeah.
But they're huge. They're big. They end up being like this big, and you just put your arms in there, and then you forget they're there, and you go.
Yeah. You can put a sandwich in there and keep it hot, or what?
Yeah.
Totally.
Nice.
Yeah. With some bourbon.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right. So our last topic, maybe you should read that. Why don't you read the last?
All right,
last
Arlo.
topic for this one. This is funny.
Oh, this is a good one for Arlo. This is a great question for Arlo. Are the Harley bros going to take over the ADV world, or are the KTM bros the new Harley bros? And I think we have somebody here who's both, actually. So
I feel attacked.
And his hat's on backwards.
Total bro move.
Yeah. I don't think the Harley bros are here to stay. I think that. So we're picking at the Pan America, right?
I think so. It's the only Harley ADV bike I'm aware of.
Yeah. So I, for those listening, I own one, and it is something I bought right after I was getting divorced. So it's kind of one of those post-divorce, like, yeah, this is a good idea, sort of a thing. I bought it, enjoy it. I've got 12,000 miles on it now, in just really probably 2.5 years that I've had it.
And to be clear, I think it's a great bike. I rode it and I really loved it. Great engine, fun bike, really awesome. So no complaints about the bike. It's the crowd that I'm concerned about.
I don't think you really need to worry about the crowd, you dick. I don't think you need to worry about the crowd. I mean, I enjoy the bike as well. I just don't know what its longevity is. I think people enjoy it. Most people use them like I use them, which is touring.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few people that actually ride them like they would a GS or something.
I think Harley saw the adventure bike craze and said, well, let's dress up a Harley like an adventure bike. And
you think it's not a great adventure bike?
No, but
I think it's
not
okay.
really, though. Yeah. There's nothing that it was like.
It's true.
Oh, I agree. But I think they made the bike to gain a part of the market share.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a bad bike, but I think that they saw like, okay, everybody's making adventure bikes. Let's make an adventure bike. And it's a blend, it's a...
You think maybe Harley's not in it for the long haul? You think they're going to bow out of the adventure game? Or you think they're here to stay?
I think all of that depends on what is the reliability of this thing, which, I bought the first model year. And some people had some severe problems. There's guys like me that haven't had any problems, really.
I think that's most bikes, especially if you're getting in a new section.
New bike, new manufacturer to the segment. And I'm impressed with how the bike's held up. I mean, I've had a few issues that were honestly minor, where it was like coating and what else was it? Heated grips, which shorted out, and they had to go through the process. And I think that was more dealer driven that it was a problem. So I won't call that dealer out, but it was awful. Process. But there's things that Harley does really well on, and they do listen to their customers. And I think if they have things they can make better, they're probably going to do a pretty good job with it. I would say hesitant on, you're going to buy that type of bike. Are you going to look at the GS, the Africa Twin, the Pan America, who else am I missing? Like your Tigers, the larger Tigers. What do they have? A 12?
The 1050, yeah.
1050, the KTMs. Like, are you going to look at those and match it and be like, you know what? Harley's got a lot of dealers. This might be a great bike. Or are you going to be like, I want this because it's iconic? Now they have the GS 1300. I think it's going to be tough for them. I hope they do come out with something that is more Tenere size. That would be cool.
I think it's not I don't think it's a bad bike. I've ridden yours. I think it's okay, but it's big and it's heavy. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes it a little less capable as an adventure bike. But honestly, most of the riding that we do, or at least that I do, we're on the road. So the Harley should be able to do basically anything and everything that we do.
Yep. And the road section do a little better. Have either of you ridden a GS 1200 or 1300?
No, I'd love to, though.
I think, and I haven't either. Well, I rode an old one, like a 2005 model, so one of the early ones, and I wasn't impressed with it. It was also very heavy and clunky and not really great off road either. So for
it's
the segment, I think the Harley fits right in that large adventure bike segment, or adventure bike or touring bike.
Hey, for highway miles and really getting after it, that bike is perfect.
Yeah,
for
I bet.
Me anyway.
I'm sure.
It's
I almost bought one once, but it had some kind of issue that the guy didn't tell me about until he brought it for me to look at it, and I was like, I don't even think I rode it. I don't remember.
GS? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
It was like some kind of thing where he was like, well, there's an issue and you probably need to, or no, he said that the transmission had been rebuilt like 3 times under warranty from the dealer, but don't worry, everything's fine now. And immediately I was like, oh,
what am I getting myself
I don't
into?
think that doesn't sound
nothing
fine
to worry about
me.
here.
Yeah. And I don't think that's typical. I don't hear of that many problems with them.
No. Well, as far as what I've seen of the Harley crowd being at adventure rides, first of all, they're all welcome. Come on, bring it on. I've seen a couple of them that come and they're not ready to get off road at all, not do any back road, and they come thinking that they're doing a paved back road ride, right? And that's typically not the adventure rides that I get into. And then I've seen a couple others that came and they got tired of their bagger or their hardtail, and they decided to get into the adventure world. So they bought this Pan America, and they show up with no helmet in short sleeve shirts, and they're still Harley bros, and they're trying to come to adventure ride, and they don't fit in, and they can tell that they don't fit in, so they don't stay, right? So,
Sure.
But
That's tough.
And I don't know either. If the Harley has the future with us, because I don't see many of them at the adventure rides I go to. A couple here and there, but don't see
Maybe
them too
you're
often.
right. Maybe it's where did you originate in motorcycles? Like for me, I rode dirt bikes.
Yeah.
And then so adventure bike just makes sense.
I think that's a lot of the ADV community. They start out in dirt bikes.
Yeah, so like with Harleys, I don't know if that's the case. I think a lot of guys buy a Harley that have never rode a motorcycle before. I don't think that's uncommon. I'm sure there's a lot of motorcycles people buy like that, but I think a lot of these adventure guys are guys that race dirt bikes or trail road or whatever it was, and they ultimately ended up here, or they've got both now.
And I'll say this, I hope that they do stay in it to win it, because really, and I had a bad experience with one dealer, and I've had 3 dealers involved because I lived in Tennessee. I bought from one dealer, serviced in a closer dealer, and then when I moved to Indiana, I had this other dealer. To me, that's the one thing that Harley has in its advantage is that dealer network. And if they could, I think it's going to be a long road, but if they could get their dealers on board with the bike, because the dealers, in my opinion, at first are like, it's cool, but it's not a Harley. It's
the same story as the Buell. Hard convincing their dealership network to take it on fully.
But what they don't, I think what the dealers don't realize is, man, if you could service this community, there's some pretty decent, because we've seen that explosion, right? Over the last, how long has ADV riding just exploded? Last 5 years.
Is the first one the 990 Adventure?
Well, no. I mean, there's a whole long line of depends what you call an adventure rider.
Of modern adventure riding. Who made the first bike?
Well, I think that's a future topic. What do you consider an adventure bike, right? Because you talk to the old timers in their dirt bike with some saddlebags as their adventure bike.
Exactly.
But, to us, we kind of classify that as the larger,
but that's even like saying
touring bike that we take off road.
That's like saying Harley never made an adventure bike. Well, Harley made dirt bikes.
Any bike is an adventure bike
if you ride it wrong enough.
Right?
Yeah. Even an R6
right.
if you want.
Absolutely on high and Tugo round bottom road. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
The second part of the question is the KLR. I want to get to that, or the KTM. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's the same question. Are the KTM bros the new Harley bros?
And what do you mean by that? I don't understand it.
Well, the Harley stereotype that we make fun of, right? I think a lot of the ADV community gives the Harley group a hard time because they're only riding to be cool. They're not riding for the passion of the sport. They're only riding to be cool and have a cool bike. And I kind of feel, I'm throwing stones in a glass house here, but I kind of feel like I'm going to get myself in trouble. But I kind of feel like sometimes that's some of the KTM riders. They just have the coolest, most expensive bike because the KTM is the coolest, most expensive bike. Adventure bike.
I feel attacked.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy.
I feel attacked.
But so is that the new target crowd for us to make fun of and laugh behind their back?
Listen, we have a particular set of skills, and it's to buy the most bougie bike we can. That's the that's the point.
I understand.
I don't know.
Go bar hopping. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, on the pilot episode that would have been, so we're on episode 2, but pilot episode that we started, I talked a little bit about man, I really like the 10RA, and I would have bought one had there had been available. Because you remember when I was going through that, I was like, and you
I got
too.
lucky
We've been
bought
on
one
10RA or
neighborhood.
AT?
No, the 10RA.
Oh, 10RA. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. The Africa Twin, I had an opportunity to buy that when I bought the Harley.
You decided not to.
The dealer pissed me off.
Yeah.
Because he was sizing me up, and I was
Sure.
like, man, why do I have to do that? I don't understand the point. So, nothing against Honda dealers, but no, I mean, my purchase was about availability, but I do really like the tech on the KTMs. I mean, that's how I buy stuff. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I asked that question, but I don't really believe in it. I think that KTM is not Harley, right? I think most KTM buyers are buying the KTM because they do have the best tech, because they do have the fastest, most advanced bike, and it is the coolest bike, but it's also the best tool. Whereas the ADV, or a lot of people, make fun of the Harley crowd because they're on ancient equipment or ancient, designs, and they're only there for the image.
Sure.
And I don't think that's the KTM crowd. I think they're there for the technology and the image.
All right, so my KTM bros listening and watching, they hate us because they ain't us. Okay, that's what it is.
But the amazing thing about KTM is KTM used to be an off-brand, and now it's like the brand. They own Gas, they own Husqvarna. They went from being like, oh my God, did you see, a KTM 125 won a Supercross race?
I remember it. Yeah,
I know. And I think Kelly Smith, I've met him before. He won an outdoor national on a KTM. I think that was a huge deal because it was like a knockoff brand that nobody would ever ride. And now you're seeing, before people would only ride Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki, the Japanese brands. Now you're riding an American bike, Harley, a KTM, Triumph. I have a Ducati, an Italian bike. I have a Yamaha as well. But in the last few years, the other brands are just coming up. Mm-hmm. And why did that happen? Is the market growing? Were the other brands not advancing? When you look at some of the Japanese adventure bikes, they're kind of behind the times. They're not cool. They don't look cool.
Dead nuts reliable, but maybe not the most advanced designs and
they're a little
specs.
dated. Yeah.
Yep.
It's like the classic Toyota thing. Toyota, I have a Toyota, but it's all these the domestic brands were coming out with these cool tech, and it's Toyota's just reliable. And I'm thinking that's what Honda and Yamaha.
The 4Runner hasn't changed in 10 years, right?
There's a new one. I've seen it before.
Oh,
don't tell anybody.
Spoiler alert.
I had to hide my phone and put it in a magnetic bag and all this stuff. So
nice.
It's cool.
There you go. Cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk to you about that after the show.
Yeah.
You're sworn to secrecy.
Yeah.
But I think that back to that point is KTM, Husky, Gas, it's become the company. They're in every form of racing. They don't make toy helicopters or pools or airplanes or cars. They make one car, arguably, but they just make motorcycles. They make their motto is, what is it, race ready or whatever. So they're building. They don't build the toy bikes, the commuter bikes, the low level bikes, the entry level bikes. They pretty much just make a hardcore product.
The race bike, yeah. It's been an impressive evolution of the brand over the years. Yeah, yep.
I mean, we're running low on time, but I feel like a future topic should be, what's your next bike? We should add that to the list because
that's a great question.
You got some opinions, so
and we'll have to talk about if we're talking about Fantasyland or Reality Arlo. Well, because in reality, it's going to cost me about $100 my next bike. Fantasy, I could spend a whole lot more than that.
Nice. We'll have 2 segments for it, though.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
So, awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.